This video covers controversial conspiracy theories for entertainment only. Timestamps are provided, and you can find the link to my new React channel down below. Enjoy the video. Spirit removal theory draws from ancient mystical practices and documented cases of consciousness separation. Evidence surfaced showing multiple cultures independently developed similar techniques for inducing out-of-body experiences, from Tibetan dream yoga to shamanic soul journeys. Medical records indicate instances of patients describing detailed events that occurred while clinically dead, including conversations and activities in other hospital rooms. Researchers discovered these accounts often contained verifiable details the patient couldn't have known through normal means. Historical documents reveal countless reports of spirit possession following near-death experiences or intensive meditation practices. Some theorists suggest the temporary vacancy created by astral projection acts like an open door, leaving behind an empty vessel that draws in wandering souls like a vacuum. Archaeological findings show ancient civilizations built specific chambers and developed elaborate rituals designed to safely facilitate spirit separation. These sites often contain warnings about the dangers of improper techniques and the importance of protective measures to prevent unwanted spiritual entities from claiming the vacant body. Military documents detail classified experiments from the 1960s exploring consciousness projection as a method of gathering intelligence. The program was allegedly shut down after multiple test subjects reported feeling different upon returning to their bodies, with some claiming they brought something back with them. The Lustful Tulpas theory presents a darker take on the concept of thought form manifestation. The basic idea stems from ancient Buddhist and Hindu practices, where focused meditation could supposedly create sentient beings from pure thought. Drawing from medieval accounts of demons who feed on sexual energy, modern theorists point to the rising tide of sexual content in media and advertising. Evidence surfaced suggesting these beings, once manifested, require continued sustenance through human arousal to maintain their form. Records indicate a sharp rise in reported sleep paralysis encounters with sexual undertones starting in the 1960s, coinciding with the sexual revolution. These encounters often share eerily similar details across different cultures and locations. Researchers discovered old texts describing protective rituals specifically designed to ward off thought-born tempters, suggesting ancient cultures may have faced similar entities. Modern believers note how sexual imagery seems to spread mimetically through culture, almost as if guided by an invisible hand. The pattern appears self-reinforcing. The more attention and energy given to these entities, the stronger their influence grows, creating an endless cycle. Those who study the phenomenon note how difficult it becomes to break free once exposed, similar to addiction patterns. Western gatekeeping theory links ancient wisdom to modern power structures. Records indicate that certain philosophical and spiritual practices remain concentrated in smaller nations or tightly regulated regions, raising questions about deliberate suppression elsewhere. Evidence surfaced showing how meditation, energy work, and other Eastern practices faced systematic dismissal in Western academia until they could be repackaged and commercialized in a watered-down form. The original, deeper teachings stay confined to monasteries and remote communities. Investigation revealed that when these practices spread to larger populations historically, they often preceded significant social change or challenges to established authority. This pattern appears in medieval mystical movements, revolutionary spiritual groups, and modern alternative communities. Researchers discovered countless examples of Western institutions labeling these beliefs as primitive superstition while privately studying and documenting their effects. Declassified files show government programs exploring consciousness expansion, remote viewing, and other phenomena, all while publicly mocking such concepts. The theory points to how transformative spiritual practices get stripped of their most potent elements before reaching the masses. Simple breathing exercises replace complex energy work. Basic mindfulness substitutes for deep meditation. Quick fixes replace disciplined practice. Looking east, places like Tibet faced invasion and suppression right as their spiritual traditions gained Western attention. Similar patterns emerged in South America, where indigenous wisdom traditions faced persecution as their effectiveness became known to outsiders. This theory links divine ranking to physical scale. Looking across faiths and folklore, beings higher up the heavenly ladder tend to tower over those below. From the mighty seraphim down to common angels, their forms dwarf human scale. Records show this pattern goes deeper than just angels. Ancient tales tell of giants walking among men in times closer to creation, when the mortal and divine realms sat nearer. As ages passed and humanity grew distant from the divine, our size shrank. Evidence surfaced in deep-sea research that mirrors this scaling law. The further down sea creatures live from the surface, the larger they grow. Giant squid, colossal tube worms, and massive isopods all dwell in the depths, as if sinking closer to some divine source causes growth. Researchers discovered this size-divinity link appears in architecture too. The world's oldest temples and religious sites often feature massive stone blocks and towering spires. Each level climbing skyward grows grander, as if reaching toward divine scale. The math follows across species. Whales, Earth's largest creatures, spend their lives in deep waters singing songs some link to divine praise, while humans, bound to land between sea and sky, stay locked at medium scale. Hidden texts speak of future times when worthy souls grow vast as mountains, their forms expanding as they near divine perfection. These changes match deep sea growth patterns, as if some universal law ties physical size to closeness with the divine. This theory, simply titled Witnesses, suggests the Soviet space program silenced those who saw too much beyond our atmosphere. Files recovered from radio operators in Italy and Germany caught transmissions of Russian voices crying out in fear, growing fainter as they drifted deeper into space. Records point to over 10 missing cosmonauts between 1961 and 1964, their names scrubbed from Soviet records. Strange radio signals picked up by ham operators contained bits of Russian mixed with unknown sounds. Mechanical grinding merged with what seemed like whale song. Evidence surfaced of capsule designs meant to go far past low Earth orbit, with thick shielding unlike anything used in known missions. Former workers at Baikonur spoke of strange marks on returned vessels, perfect circles burned through steel as if something had tried to get in. Research into old weather balloons found odd shapes in the sky during supposed failed launches, moving in ways that defied physics. The objects would split apart, rejoin, then vanish in bursts of light that caused electronics to fail for miles. Papers leaked decades later revealed some cosmonauts radioed about visitors moments before contact was lost. Their capsules were recovered with hatches torn open from the inside, seats empty except for scorch marks shaped like handprints. The foreign cryptids theory suggests Earth's most densely populated regions have only scratched the surface of undiscovered creatures. Records indicate vast stretches of Siberian wilderness, Canadian tundra, and Australian outback contain thousands of square miles rarely touched by human feet. Evidence surfaced of nomadic tribes in Mongolia, reporting encounters with creatures bearing no resemblance to known wildlife. Their descriptions share striking similarities despite groups being separated by hundreds of miles. Investigation revealed a pattern of mysterious livestock deaths in remote areas of Argentina's Patagonia region. Local rangers found animals with clean, surgical-like wounds, a far cry from typical predator attacks. Similar cases popped up in Alaska's interior, where whole caribou herds vanished without a trace. Researchers discovered indigenous Australian accounts of unknown beasts dating back generations, with eerily consistent details across different language groups. Modern disappearances in the outback sometimes align with locations mentioned in these ancient stories. Satellite mapping exposed countless unexplored valleys and cave systems in northern Canada, each potentially harboring life forms adapted to extreme isolation. Strange tracks photographed near these areas defy classification by wildlife experts. Deep in Russia's Sakha Republic, villages report yearly losses of hunters who venture too far into the taiga. Local authorities blame these deaths on exposure, yet the recovered bodies often show unusual marks or injuries that don't match any known predator. The raising the stakes theory proposes that government scandals trigger an endless cycle of escalating cover-ups. When damaging information leaks, officials orchestrate larger distractions to draw public attention away. These manufactured events often involve new misdeeds that create fresh secrets to hide. Records indicate a pattern where minor scandals grow into major incidents as each cover-up requires increasingly dramatic misdirection. A small leak about surveillance might lead to a staged terrorist threat, which then requires actual rights violations to maintain the deception. Evidence was brought forth showing how simple document releases snowball into complex operations. What starts as redirecting media coverage evolves into orchestrating real catastrophes. Each new event leaves a larger trail of evidence that demands an even bigger distraction. Investigation revealed this cycle creates an exponential growth of government wrongdoing. As each cover-up surpasses the last, officials must resort to more extreme measures, from market manipulation to manufactured conflicts. The theory suggests this spiral continues until no greater distraction remains possible. The final stage arrives when the government exhausts all options for misdirection. Like a poker player who can't raise the stakes any higher, the entire house of cards allegedly collapses. The weight of accumulated secrets and escalating cover-ups brings the whole system crashing down. The spiritual monopoly theory suggests a hidden effort by modern elites to restrict humanity's connection to supernatural realms. Records indicate that across cultures, specific individuals, shamans, priests, and mystics, displayed unusual abilities to interact with spiritual forces. Evidence surfaced of ancient texts describing methods to strengthen or weaken one's spiritual attunement, similar to exercising a muscle. These practices often involved meditation, fasting, and ritual ceremonies, activities that have seen steep decline in modern society. Researchers discovered patterns of powerful institutions historically controlling access to spiritual knowledge. The burning of libraries, persecution of mystics, and standardization of religious practices point to systematic attempts to limit spiritual independence. Investigation revealed modern social trends pushing toward materialistic worldviews while dismissing spiritual experiences as delusions or mental illness. This creates a culture where people doubt their own spiritual encounters and abilities. Those who study this theory point to the rise of prescription medications, constant digital distractions, and processed foods as tools that may deliberately dull humanity's natural spiritual senses. Meanwhile, they note how elite groups continue ancient spiritual practices behind closed doors. Certain spirits, according to old texts, require human acknowledgement or interaction to maintain their power. By cutting off the masses from spiritual connections, elites could theoretically force these entities to work exclusively with them, creating a spiritual monopoly in the truest sense. Inverse Summonings flips our view of reality and spirit on its head. The old writings speak of three layers, mind, matter, and spirit, not as a ladder going up, but as a U-shaped curve where our physical world sits at the bottom. Records point to hidden texts describing how monks and wise men would craft detailed mental forms, believing these thoughts could draw in wandering spirits just as rituals could pull spirits down into physical items. These mental blueprints acted like nets or traps. Evidence surfaced of secret groups who practiced this art, creating intricate mental structures through deep focus and ritual. They claimed success when their thought forms began acting in ways they hadn't planned, taking on traits and behaviors of their own. Researchers discovered journals describing how these mental constructs would sometimes manifest physical effects, objects moving, sounds occurring, or even visible shapes forming in dim light. The practitioners saw this as proof that spirits were inhabiting their mental creations. Ancient scrolls tell of masters who could maintain multiple mental forms at once, each hosting different spirits. These beings supposedly acted as advisors and helpers, bound not by physical ritual but by the strength of thought alone. God's fallibility theory stems from an odd gap in religious texts where divine beings show moments of weakness. Records indicate several ancient tablets speak of heavenly wars and fallen angels who dared to stand against divine will, hinting at possible limits to godly power. Evidence surfaced in forgotten manuscripts suggesting certain religious leaders kept secret texts about divine beings losing battles or failing to achieve their goals. These writings, often destroyed or locked away, paint a different picture than the all-powerful deity presented to the masses. Researchers discovered that many ancient cultures shared similar stories of gods being tricked, defeated, or outsmarted by lesser beings. These tales were slowly stripped from official religious texts, leaving only carefully selected passages that portrayed complete divine supremacy. Investigation revealed that some secret societies claimed to possess knowledge of divine weak points, specific times, places, or methods through which supernatural powers could be challenged. These groups allegedly passed this information through heavily coded messages and symbols. Ancient military records show curious gaps in religious leaders' confidence during certain battles or events, as if they suddenly doubted their divine protection. Some texts hint at rituals designed not to worship, but to exploit supposed divine limitations. Deep in Vatican archives lie documents about church officials who seemed oddly concerned about specific astronomical events and their effects on divine power. These records were quickly sealed away, with access granted only to the highest church authorities. This entry centers on the idea that mundane truths are hidden away, not for their direct impact, but for the raw power they contain. The mere act of knowing grants authority over reality itself. Records indicate patterns of information restriction across history that go beyond typical censorship. Simple facts, dates, and seemingly harmless details vanish from records, while more scandalous information remains untouched. Evidence surfaced of ancient texts being edited to remove specific phrases or concepts rather than entire passages. These edits often targeted basic observations about nature, mathematics, or daily life that would seem to hold no strategic value. Researchers discovered that certain mathematical proofs and basic scientific principles were deliberately left out of academic records throughout the 1800s. These weren't grand revelations, just simple facts about how things work that someone deemed too dangerous to know. Investigation revealed secret societies focused not on wealth or power, but on keeping specific pieces of trivia from spreading. Their archives suggest they believed that complete knowledge of reality would let common people bend its rules. The suppressed information forms a kind of puzzle, each piece harmless alone but powerful when combined. Those in control maintain their grip not through what they do with this knowledge, but by making sure no one else can complete the picture. Hidden texts speak of reality keys, ordinary facts that, when known together, grant the knower certain abilities. Modern theorists compare this to computer passwords, random characters that mean nothing alone but grant access when properly combined. Power through belief theory connects ancient magical practices to modern psychological principles. The core idea stems from centuries-old grimoires and texts describing how spellcasters must maintain absolute conviction in their workings. Historical records show tribal shamans and medicine men achieving seemingly impossible feats through unwavering faith in their abilities. This mirrors modern placebo effects, where belief alone creates measurable physical changes. Evidence surfaced in declassified government files about attempts to harness this phenomenon through programs like MKUltra and Project Stargate. Test subjects who fully believed in their psychic abilities consistently outperformed skeptical participants. Researchers discovered references to this concept across diverse magical traditions, from Celtic druids to Egyptian priests to Hindu mystics. Each source emphasized that doubt acts as a barrier between intention and manifestation. Archaeological findings reveal ancient ritual sites designed to reinforce practitioners' belief systems through carefully crafted environments and ceremonies. These spaces serve to eliminate skepticism and strengthen magical conviction. Modern neuroscience has mapped how firm beliefs can alter brain chemistry and neural pathways. This lends credence to the idea that absolute faith might unlock dormant human capabilities through biological mechanisms not yet fully understood. The Genesis location theory merges biblical accounts with hollow earth beliefs. Ancient texts describe a mysterious crystal dome above Earth, which some interpret as a water shell surrounding the planet's outer surface. Early humans might have dwelled inside Earth's hollow center, with the Garden of Eden nestled within these inner realms. Records indicate peculiar references in religious documents about waters above the heavens and a firmament dividing these waters. This lines up with the idea of a prehistoric water shell that later crashed down during the Great Flood, filling both the surface and inner Earth. Investigation revealed that no location on Earth matches the biblical description of Eden, complete with its 4 rivers and unique geography. The theory suggests this paradise still exists, hidden within Earth's hollow interior, protected by the sword-wielding angel mentioned in Scripture. Evidence surfaced in ancient writings of a dramatic shift in human dwelling places, potentially marking the moment when people moved from inner to outer Earth. This migration may have occurred during the flood, as the collapsing water shell forced humanity to seek refuge on the surface. Researchers discovered that certain passages in Genesis could be reinterpreted through this lens, explaining why Eden seems to defy modern geography. The flaming sword guarding Eden's entrance might be more literal than metaphorical, a physical barrier preventing access to an inner Earth paradise that still exists today. Fourth dimensional foresight stems from odd patterns in how classified info gets handled by officials. Records indicate specific pieces of evidence vanish within hours of discovery, while other seemingly major finds remain untouched. This selective approach hints at a deeper system at work. Evidence surfaced of cases where authorities swooped in to contain situations before they could spiral, acting with unusual speed and precision. The timing often proved too perfect to be mere chance or good planning. Researchers discovered a pattern in declassified documents where certain minor events received massive containment responses, only for those same events to later trigger major public reactions when partially leaked. The response always came before any sign of public interest. Investigation revealed numerous cases of evidence being seized decades ago that only recently became relevant to national security, suggesting those in power somehow knew which puzzle pieces would matter in the future. The theory points to the existence of a hidden time travel program not used for direct intervention, but rather to guide present-day containment efforts. This explains why some explosive revelations get buried while seemingly identical ones slip through. They already know which ones will cause lasting damage. A trail of perfectly timed interventions stretches back through recent history, each one preventing a specific piece of information from reaching the public eye. Like a chess player who can see 20 moves ahead, these actions only make sense if the players know the endgame. Interdimensional disposal stems from one of America's oldest unsolved murders. The discovery of a young boy's body in a cardboard box near Philadelphia in 1957 sparked massive investigations, yet yielded virtually no concrete leads. Evidence surfaced of peculiar inconsistencies at the crime scene. The box itself showed no weathering despite heavy rain in the days before, and some witnesses reported seeing the box appear suddenly, as if placed there in an instant. Local investigations revealed strange magnetic readings around the discovery site, with equipment malfunction occurring in a perfect circle spanning 20 feet from where the box lay. The pattern matched documented anomalies found at other sites of unexplained disappearances. Research into similar cold cases uncovered a pattern of evidence simply vanishing, not being destroyed or hidden, but seemingly ceasing to exist altogether. Fingerprints would fade from surfaces within hours of collection, and photographs of crime scenes would show inexplicable blurring around key pieces of evidence. Files from the original investigation detail witness accounts of shimmering air and folded space near the discovery site. The lead detective's personal notes, found decades later, described the crime scene as having a wrong feel, as if the physical space itself was borrowed from somewhere else. The temperature around the box reportedly dropped 15 degrees below the surrounding area, matching thermal patterns later documented at sites of supposed dimensional bleeding. Modern analysis of soil samples from beneath the box showed trace particles moving in impossible patterns, as if following the physics of another reality. The curated reality theory deals with a twist on simulation theory, the idea that our reality gets tweaked in real time. Unlike basic simulation concepts, this takes things further by suggesting active management of our world. Evidence points to unexplained events that seem to defy probability. A pen falls off a desk but lands in a perfect upright position. A bird swoops down at the exact second to block what would have been a fatal car crash. Small, unlikely occurrences that ripple into major changes. Records show patterns of these lucky breaks and freak accidents happening at crucial historical moments. A sudden fog that allowed troops to escape certain doom, or a random meeting between strangers that sparked world-changing innovations. These supposedly random events often carry massive implications for humanity's path. Research suggests these alterations might serve as course corrections, like a cosmic editor tweaking a story. When reality starts heading toward an unwanted outcome, small adjustments get made. A delayed train, a chance encounter, a lucky guess, steering things back on track. The math behind some of these coincidences breaks down under scrutiny. Statistical analysis reveals clusters of improbable events that don't follow natural probability curves. It's as if someone keeps rolling dice until they get the exact numbers they want. Believers point to the Mandela effect as potential evidence. Those shared false memories might be leftover traces of edited timelines. Like finding artifacts from deleted scenes, these collective misrememberings could be echoes of realities that got patched out of our simulation. This entry stems from a disturbing pattern of mass behavior shifts throughout history. We see several instances where entire towns fell into unexplained panic or shared delusions, with no clear trigger for the events. Evidence surfaced linking some mass hysteria cases to nearby military installations, particularly during the Cold War era. The 1938 War of the Worlds broadcast sparked nationwide terror, leading some researchers to speculate it served as an early test of crowd psychology and emergency response systems. Investigation revealed classified documents mentioning mass behavioral studies conducted in small American towns during the 1950s and 60s. These tests allegedly measured how quickly false information could spread and how deeply it could impact community behavior. Declassified MK-Ultra files show the government's keen interest in mass psychological manipulation, including experiments with mood-altering frequencies and chemical substances released in public spaces. Some modern cases of shared panic, like the 2016 clown sightings across America, follow eerily similar patterns to these documented tests. Reports from former military personnel describe training exercises focused on social engineering and crowd behavior modification. These techniques supposedly evolved into more sophisticated methods using social media algorithms and targeted disinformation campaigns to study how fear and paranoia spread through modern communities. Strange clusters of identical nightmares reported in specific neighborhoods, synchronized changes in local buying patterns, and waves of unexplained physical symptoms have all been logged as potential evidence of ongoing psychological testing. The fact that many of these incidents remain officially unexplained only deepens suspicions about their true nature. The butterfly susceptibility theory draws from both quantum mechanics and ancient divination practices. Records indicate that multiple cultures worldwide developed similar systems for glimpsing future events, from Greek oracles to Chinese bone reading. Evidence surfaced through modern parapsychology tests where successful predictions seem to alter the very events they foretold. In one notable case, a study participant accurately predicted a car accident, only for their awareness to cause a chain of different choices that prevented it entirely. Research data shows a pattern where the more specific and accurate a prophecy appears, the more likely it becomes for reality to shift in unexpected ways. This creates a paradox where gaining knowledge of future events triggers changes that make that knowledge useless. Historical documents reveal that ancient seers often gave vague or metaphorical predictions, not from lack of skill, but possibly because they understood that too much detail would trigger this effect. Investigation of old prophecies suggests those with the highest accuracy rates were the ones most open to multiple interpretations. Testing has found that attempts to verify precognitive abilities in lab settings consistently fail, not because the abilities don't exist, but because the act of measurement fundamentally alters what's being measured, similar to how observing quantum particles changes their behavior. Extraterrestrials are demons ties ancient religious texts to modern UFO sightings. Records indicate several holy books across faiths describe beings descending from the sky, often bringing messages or warnings, but their true form terrified witnesses, leading to phrases like "fear not" appearing over 300 times in religious texts. Modern parapsychology tests have revealed cases where accurate predictions appeared to influence the very events they anticipated. In one striking instance, a study participant foresaw a car accident with precision, but their awareness set off a series of decisions that ultimately prevented it from happening. Investigation revealed that the lost Apollo 11 tapes contained more than moon landing footage. Several technicians who viewed the original broadcast claimed to see shadowy figures moving in ways that defied physics, leading to theories about why NASA might have destroyed over 700 boxes of space mission data. Researchers discovered that the 1969 cosmonaut Vladimir Severin incident, where he reportedly encountered winged creatures during a spacewalk, matches medieval descriptions of demons found in Orthodox Christian texts. The Soviet space program classified all records of this event for decades. The theory points to how many modern alien abduction stories mirror ancient accounts of demonic possession. Lost time, physical marks, night visits, and a sense of being tested or examined. Some investigators note both experiences often end with victims speaking in unknown languages. Divine humanity hints at a hidden force within our DNA, passed down since the dawn of time. Records suggest ancient texts across cultures reference this dormant power, from Hindu concepts of Atman to Christian writings about being made in God's image. Throughout history, certain groups have sought to unlock this inner potential through strict diets, meditation, and energy practices. Some reported abilities like healing others or glimpsing future events. The most notable cases came from Tibet, where monks demonstrated remarkable control over body temperature and metabolism. Research points to odd brain patterns in those who report accessing this divine state. EEG readings show increased gamma waves and unusual synchronization between different parts of the brain. These patterns match those seen in deep meditative states, but at much higher intensity. Believers link this to the double helix shape of DNA, seeing it as a physical mark of divinity, like a signature left by a greater power. They point to the mathematical precision of genetic code as proof it holds more than just biological data. Studies revealed that people who think they've awakened this power share common traits: heightened empathy, resistance to extreme temperatures, and faster healing rates. Critics say these skills come from training, not divine genes. Yet no one fully explains how some monks dry frozen sheets on their backs in below-zero weather. Tales tell of secret societies still working to unlock humanity's full potential, seeing modern spiritual movements as shallow copies of ancient wisdom. They claim we use only a fraction of our true power, kept dormant by modern life and lost knowledge. The necessary creation theory suggests an intriguing link between divine perfection and cosmic design. A supreme being, working with perfect efficiency, would craft a universe containing exactly what humanity needs. No more, no less. Records indicate the observable universe holds roughly 2 trillion galaxies, which believers argue is the exact amount needed for Earth's life-supporting conditions. Each star, planet, and cosmic force serves a purpose in this grand design. Researchers discovered that many universal constants, like gravity's strength or light speed, sit at precise values that allow human existence. If these numbers shifted even slightly, life as we know it couldn't exist, hinting at careful, purposeful creation. Evidence surfaced showing how human knowledge grows at an increasing rate. From stone tools to quantum computers, we've uncovered more cosmic secrets in each passing century. Once humanity grasps all universal truths, this theory claims our purpose will be complete. The final phase draws from traditional end-time beliefs. Having learned all there is to know, humans will have fulfilled their cosmic role. The universe, no longer needed for its teaching purpose, makes way for the next stage of existence. City of Facades centers on the unsettling notion that modern cities contain vast numbers of empty structures designed solely to maintain the appearance of bustling urban life. Records indicate strange patterns in power usage across major cities, with entire blocks showing near zero electricity consumption despite apparent occupancy. Building permits reveal oddly uniform construction dates for certain neighborhoods, suggesting coordinated development rather than natural urban growth. Security guards report following strict orders never to allow public access to specific floors or sections of buildings, while maintenance workers describe installing fake office equipment and furniture in spaces that never see actual use. Researchers discovered that many supposedly occupied buildings lack basic utility connections, with some structures containing false windows, painted-on doors, and architectural features that serve no practical purpose beyond maintaining the urban aesthetic. Reports emerged of shell companies renting multiple floors in busy buildings, yet no employee traffic is ever seen entering or leaving. Late-night thermal imaging reveals entire city blocks running cold, despite claims of full occupancy. Some construction workers have quietly shared stories of installing hollow walls, fake elevator buttons, and other theatrical elements designed to create the illusion of functional spaces. In a darkly humorous twist, one worker claimed to have accidentally built an entire floor that couldn't be accessed by any stairwell or elevator. It simply existed to be seen from the outside. Government contracts hint at massive funding for urban development projects that produce buildings with no clear purpose or tenant. These structures reportedly serve as part of an elaborate stage design, crafting a carefully manufactured image of urban prosperity and population density. Earth is Purgatory theory links humanity's realm to an eternal waiting room between planes of existence. Records indicate a striking pattern of supernatural events clustering around periods before the birth of Christ, with ghostly encounters and divine manifestations appearing regularly in ancient texts. Evidence surfaced through religious scholars, noting how souls mentioned in pre-Christian texts often lingered on Earth rather than ascending or descending to their final destinations. The massive drop in recorded supernatural occurrences following Christ's arrival fits neatly into this framework. Investigation revealed that modern ghost sightings tend to involve souls seemingly trapped or bound to specific locations, much like the traditional concept of spirits working through their cosmic debt. These earthbound spirits often display signs of unfinished business or lingering regret, matching the purifying nature of traditional purgatory. Researchers discovered ancient writings across multiple cultures describing Earth as a proving ground for souls, where the weight of past sins must be balanced through continued existence. The gradual decrease in miraculous events and divine intervention over recorded history suggests this spiritual layover station may be slowly emptying as souls complete their journey. The presence of both suffering and joy on Earth mirrors Purgatory's dual nature as a place of cleansing and preparation. Those who pass through life facing hardship may be working through karmic debt, while moments of grace could represent spiritual progress toward ascension. Predestined Extinctions suggests Earth's mass die-offs follow a cosmic timetable, making human efforts to trigger or prevent them pointless. Records indicate these events happen roughly every 27 million years, with 5 major extinctions already logged in Earth's timeline. Scientists mapped asteroid impacts to extinctions and found a trend. They cluster together instead of occurring randomly over time. This suggests a force periodically pulls space rocks toward Earth. Researchers discovered life seems to bounce back in similar ways after each reset, as if following a script. Species that survive tend to evolve along predictable paths, filling the same roles as those that died out. This weird dance of death and rebirth keeps repeating. Investigation revealed attempts to speed up or slow down these events tend to fizzle out. Nuclear weapons stockpiles somehow avoid going off all at once. Efforts to deflect asteroids run into endless technical snags. It's like the universe has a schedule to keep, and nothing can rush or delay it. Ancient texts across cultures speak of cosmic cycles where worlds die and restart, suggesting our ancestors maybe spotted this pattern long ago. Hindu texts even give specific timeframes for these cycles that loosely match modern extinction data, which is either a wild guess or something more. The antediluvian hollow earth theory links ancient biblical texts with hidden realms beneath our feet. The book of Genesis hints at two distinct worlds, one above and one below, where early humans lived within Earth's inner spaces. This setup split divine and dark forces into clear zones. Records show odd details in religious writings that point to a time when angels came down from the sky, while demons rose up from below, yet both seem to enter our world through openings in the Earth's crust. These entry points match with tales of vast cave networks told in folklore worldwide. Evidence surfaced in old church texts describing how pre-flood humans built grand cities in massive caverns, safe from harsh surface conditions. These underground dwellers supposedly had direct contact with both holy and unholy beings, who used Earth's hollow spaces as neutral meeting grounds. Researchers discovered similar themes across different cultures' flood stories, each telling of people living deep within mountains or underground before waters rose. Many of these tales share oddly specific details about how their ancestors emerged from caves after the floods went down. Maps and drawings from medieval times mark supposed entrances to this inner world, often placing them near spots where ancient people claimed angels or demons appeared. Some of these locations match with actual cave systems that go deeper than early explorers could follow. Residual divinity theory suggests that every living thing carries a tiny spark of the original divine force that shaped our universe. Ancient texts across cultures hint at humans wielding godlike abilities, from Native American shamans who could speak with spirits to Hindu mystics who demonstrated supernatural powers. Archaeological finds show strange artifacts that seem to bend the normal rules of physics. A crystal skull found in South America appears to emit unusual energy patterns. The Antikythera mechanism displays knowledge that shouldn't have existed in its time. Modern researchers tracking paranormal events noticed clusters of inexplicable phenomena around certain individuals. These people showed no awareness of their abilities, yet electronic equipment would malfunction in their presence, small objects would move without being touched, and unlikely coincidences would follow them. Lab tests revealed some humans can affect random number generators through thought alone. When focused on the task, these subjects could shift electronic outputs away from true randomness, suggesting some level of matter manipulation at a quantum level. Monks in remote monasteries were reported to perform impossible feats, floating, surviving freezing temperatures, and healing through meditation. While many dismiss it as trickery, thermal scans show control over body functions. Records indicate scattered cases throughout history of ordinary people suddenly manifesting unexplained abilities during times of extreme stress or spiritual awakening. These powers typically fade within days, but suggest humans may have dormant capabilities waiting to be unlocked. Strange energy readings around sacred sites and ancient temples point to lingering traces of something beyond current scientific understanding. These readings spike during certain astronomical alignments and when large groups gather to pray or meditate in these locations. Reality drift theory links human perception of color to deeper shifts in consciousness. Research points to notable variations in how different people process the same wavelengths of light, with some seeing colors more vibrantly than others. Medical records show cases where patients report gradual changes in color perception over months or years, often coinciding with neurological conditions. What's striking is their inability to pinpoint when these shifts began. Evidence surfaced of test subjects consistently sorting color swatches into different categories, even when claiming to see the same shade. More intriguingly, their sorting patterns would subtly change over repeated trials, though none noticed the drift in their choices. Studies revealed that people with higher visual processing abilities tend to perceive a wider range of colors and maintain more consistent color recognition over time. This has led some to suggest these individuals are more anchored in baseline reality. Data indicates correlations between color perception changes and various health markers, from minor vitamin deficiencies to major neural pathway alterations. In some cases, people's memories of past colors shifted to match their current perception, as if reality itself had been retroactively adjusted. Lab tests discovered that certain individuals could detect subtle color variations that most people miss entirely, while simultaneously showing more stable perception patterns over time. Some joke these people must have premium subscriptions to reality. Paranormal Pogroms point to a darker interpretation of humanity's obsession with supernatural hunters. Medieval records indicate widespread, coordinated campaigns across Europe targeting supposed vampires, werewolves, and other entities, far more organized than simple witch hunts. Specialized military units in Eastern Europe, mainly Romania and Hungary, operated with papal support. They used specific weapons, followed strict protocols, and kept detailed logs, suggesting they fought real threats, not imagined ones. Researchers discovered that many ancient burial sites contained corpses with systematic mutilations, stakes through hearts, severed heads, and weighted chains, pointing to standardized disposal methods rather than random acts of superstition. The same patterns appear across cultures with no contact, hinting at shared experiences with similar creatures. Investigation revealed that monster hunting practices declined sharply in the 1600s across most of Europe. This timing matches historical accounts of great victories and cleansing celebrations in multiple regions. The timing suggests successful eradication rather than monsters simply going into hiding. Archaeological findings show that specific anti-supernatural fortifications and warning systems fell into disuse around this period. Communities that once maintained constant vigilance simply stopped, as if the threat they guarded against had vanished. Their defenders didn't adapt or evolve. They just stood down. Ancient texts from the Vatican archives hint at a coordinated final push against supernatural entities, called the Last Crusade in some documents. After this campaign, reports of vampire and werewolf activities dropped to near zero, marking a stark contrast to the centuries of consistent sightings before. Mind, body, and soul separation suggests humanity contains three distinct forms of consciousness, each capable of unique modes of communication. While speech and touch represent physical interaction, declassified government files from Project Stargate hint at unexplained mental connections between test subjects across vast distances. These results align with ancient Buddhist texts describing interconnected consciousness fields spanning entire populations. Evidence surfaced linking measurable electromagnetic variations around human bodies to reported aura sightings. Research teams in Japan detected consistent energy patterns matching historical descriptions of spiritual energy fields, particularly strong during meditation and heightened emotional states. Records indicate medieval alchemists wrote of transmuting spiritual energy into physical effects, supposedly achieving this through the Philosopher's Stone. Modern paranormal investigations have documented objects moving without physical contact when surrounded by multiple people in heightened emotional states. Investigations revealed cases where mental patients displayed unexplained knowledge of other patients' private thoughts, labeled as hook operations in declassified files. These incidents peaked during full moons and solar flares, suggesting natural phenomena may amplify spiritual mental energy transfer. Strange patterns emerged showing synchronized behavior in isolated populations during major historical events, hinting at a shared consciousness field. The phenomenon intensified around ancient spiritual sites and places of mass gathering, where multiple auras supposedly combine into stronger unified fields. The lingering possession theory stems from a haunting incident at a Chicago firehouse in 1924. On April 18th, Francis Levy cleaned windows while telling fellow firefighters he felt strange that morning. Within hours, he died fighting a massive blaze. The next day, workers noticed a smudged handprint on the window he had cleaned. Records indicate the print resisted all attempts at removal. Multiple cleaning products and scrubbing techniques failed to erase the mark. The handprint matched Levy's hand size and shape perfectly, down to the unique markings of his fingers. The fire department preserved photo documentation of the print, which remained visible for 20 years. Firefighters noticed the mark became clearer on the anniversary of Levy's death, growing more defined each April 18th. The window's destruction in 1944 during a renovation ended the physical presence, but witnesses at the firehouse continued reporting cold spots and unusual activity near the window's former location. Tools would move overnight, equipment would malfunction without explanation, and the sound of window cleaning could be heard when no one was there. Photos taken in the decades since show unexplained orbs and mists gathering around the spot where the handprint once remained. Temperature readings reveal significant drops in that specific area compared to the rest of the building, even during summer months. Sacred land theory connects ancient power sites to modern elite gatherings. Stone circles, underground chambers, and megalithic monuments across the globe share exact geometric alignments that form a web of electromagnetic energy, what mystics call ley lines. Records indicate these locations host unusually high electromagnetic field readings and inexplicable radio frequency emissions. When mapped, many private estates and meeting places of influential figures fall precisely along these energy pathways. Evidence surfaced showing repeated visits by prominent figures to remote historical sites, often under heavy security and during specific astronomical alignments. Their private jets make identical flight paths year after year, landing near places of ancient worship. Investigation revealed these chosen locations shared distinct geological features, particular crystalline formations, underground water sources, and magnetic anomalies that create natural energy vortexes. Ancient cultures built their most important structures on these exact spots. Researchers discovered old texts describing rituals that could only be performed at certain points where earth energies converge. These ceremonies supposedly opened doorways to other realms, but only when conducted on these sacred grounds. Some think modern elites seek to tap into these same supernatural forces. The massive security operations at places like Bohemian Grove make more sense when viewed through this lens, not just protecting privacy, but guarding ancient power nexuses. The land itself holds significance that no amount of wealth can relocate or replicate. The concluded experiments theory suggests our world's civilizations are carefully controlled test subjects, managed by hidden powers from above. Ancient empires that vanished without clear reasons might mark the end of failed trials. The Mayans, Easter Island dwellers, and countless others could represent terminated experiments once they stopped producing desired results. Records indicate strange gaps in historical records where entire cultures seem to disappear overnight. The Bronze Age collapse wiped out multiple advanced societies simultaneously, perhaps a mass cleanup operation. More curious still, the victors often destroyed or altered the conquered nation's records, matching the pattern of systematic removal. Unexplained mass migrations were linked to this theory. When populations suddenly left thriving cities like Cahokia or Angkor Wat, they may have been quietly relocated to make way for new social experiments. The ruins left behind are the only proof these tests ever occurred. Researchers discovered modern nations that isolate themselves might represent ongoing experiments requiring careful observation. North Korea's extreme separation and Cuba's decades of isolation could be viewed as controlled variables in larger social studies. Their eventual opening or collapse might signal the end of their experimental phase. The pattern extends to fallen empires throughout time. When mighty civilizations like Rome or the Ottomans crumbled, they fragmented into smaller states, perfect conditions for fresh rounds of social testing. Each new nation-state became its own petri dish, while the old experiment's remains were swept away by time. Fourth-dimensional beings stem from the idea that ghostly forms and strange creatures might exist beyond our understanding of time itself. Rather than simple spirits or aliens, these entities could move freely through time just as we move through space. Records indicate odd patterns in paranormal sightings. Witnesses often report that entities seem to vanish into thin air or appear in impossible places. This fits with the notion that such beings could step sideways through time, making our attempts to study them rather like trying to catch smoke with a net. Evidence surfaced when researchers noted how many supernatural encounters share a bizarre trait. The entities appear to know exactly when and where to move to avoid being recorded or captured. Unlike normal animals acting on instinct, these beings demonstrate an uncanny ability to sidestep every trap, camera, and scientific study aimed their way. The math checks out too, in a way that would make Einstein scratch his head. Just as a 3D being could reach into a 2D world and seem to appear from nowhere to the flat creatures living there, a 4D entity could pop in and out of our reality by moving along time itself, leaving us scratching our heads at where they went, or rather, when. Even better, this might explain why Ghost Hunter's gear always seems to malfunction at the perfect moment. These beings could simply undo any instance where they're caught, creating a reality where their capture never happened.